So without further ado, after tallying up the scores through much deliberation, came down to the wire. But here's who won the airline design challenge. What's up, everybody? This is Young Guns Season 1, Episode 11. We're going to announce the winner to the Airline Branding Challenge. And if you haven't seen the 2 previous episodes, do that right now. I guess that's episode 9 and 10. Before I tell you who the winner is, I think it's important to kind of see how they react, how they take the feedback, and what they do with it. All right, let's see how they react.
Hearing Chris's critique was definitely pretty relieving. Being so tentative and kind of on the fence very early on, I didn't quite know what he was looking for, even after the call. So I'm glad that it kind of turned out in his favor and that he kind of enjoyed the work that I did.
I like how you presented your thinking, and I want to make a point of it. First, when you show this evolution of the existing bird and making it evolve into the feather, I think that's super smart because it's often very difficult for existing brands to see the connection between where they are, the legacy and equity they built, and where you're taking them and showing them in this very thorough, logical, step-by-step process you're taking them through so it doesn't seem as foreign to them. It comes from something. I think you did a really good job. I think Mr. Paul Rand would be proud of you because this is how he would present his logos.
I'm glad that the mock-ups got special extra attention because I did put a lot of hard work into those.
The one that I'm blown away by the most is this one, is your 3D extruded metal letter form. This looks so convincing that I just can't believe it's Photoshop. I can't believe it's butter. It's amazing. Good job on this. So whatever you did to make this, use these kinds of comping skills in the future for your mock-ups. It looks very convincing. The metallic finish, the reflections, the 3D extrusion, the beveled edges, well done. Awesome job. Probably the best mock-up that we've seen thus far.
When Chris mentioned Dido, I sighed a little bit because it was something that Sharif and I had discussed early on in the call.
Now, you mentioned in your video that you chose Dido as a typeface. Normally, I would say bravo, excellent typeface. Love it, would use it for lots of different things. It does feel quite foreign to Lufthansa. I think it feels so foreign to German design. Lufthansa, it's like, and Dido just don't seem to want to dance together. It's too delicate, it's too fine.
I was planning on using Helvetica, but Sharif advised against it, not to throw Sharif under the bus. But yeah, I probably should have erred more on the side of cultural appropriateness and probably should have gone with Helvetica. While I agree with the sentiment of what Chris said, I'm going to have to disagree with him about turning that mark into an N.
I think what you could have done is use the feather idea exactly the way you've drawn it, but integrate it with a more abstract symbol, and then just to use Helvetica and say Nest by Lufthansa in the same line, same weight, everything's the same. And so if you created a shape on a lockup like that, I think then all you need to do is take the word Nest to do it by Lufthansa, you would be done.
And there's a number of reasons I didn't do that. For one, I think that the triangle element that he would have tried to incorporate in the design, just to me felt like it was kind of overcomplicating things. Feels very foreign to the brand of Lufthansa. While I agree with changing the font to Helvetica, I'm going to have to disagree with keeping it in the same line, size, and weight. And I would do that simply because of hierarchy reasons. I think that the tagline by Lufthansa is not nearly as important as the brand name Nest. Overall, I'm really happy with the critique that Chris gave. I think it's really helpful and always great to see how Chris interprets the designs that I create.
Okay, so after going through the critique, I feel it was pretty fair and I was expecting most of it.
ARUN has come a really long way since the last time in which we saw his work. I was a little nervous. I don't know if you were. I wish he got here during the midpoint because I can already see some problems. So let's dive into the actual design that you did. I like the name, Serenity. It sounds good. It's easy to say. It feels like it's keeping with the brand. And the icon that you came up with, this lotus blossom, I think it's actually a really nice mark.
Honestly, after the first call we had, I focused too much on just naming and creating that brand rather than like more on the visual. So I focus too much on communication and naming.
You put a gentleman in here in a business suit. He looks a little bit older, more mature, looks like he travels well and he has good taste. And then everything in it does not fit with him. It feels very pastel. It feels like it could be a wellness spa. It feels like it could be a makeup brand. It doesn't feel like it fits with the Vistara brand. And in meeting what I would expect his style and taste to be like.
I was expecting Chris to critique the applications the way he did, because honestly, I didn't spend too much time on it. These were things that I could have easily made better had I done all this work before the first call, and I think the critique was pretty fair.
My first impression is it feels like, I'm sorry, kind of a mall ad for a massage parlor. Like, you have 15 minutes, I'm gonna give you a little back rub. That's what it feels like. This does not feel like that premium thing that we want it to be. Oftentimes, this is how I see ads for travel or airlines. This is what they typically look like, and we want to steer away from those typical images.
One of the things that I've learned from it is that instead of waiting to see if you're on the right track, it's better to do the work first. And if you fail and if it doesn't turn out good, that's much better, because then you have something to build on.
There's a part of me that wished that you had done this earlier, that you had committed to doing some design work and putting yourself out there so I can give you this kind of feedback.
Obviously, I could have done much better. These things were like pretty minor mistakes that I made. So I think, yeah, Chris was pretty spot on.
I felt that Chris's critique for the airline project was completely fair, and all of the things that he's pulled out of what I've created and the thought process that he has been able to gather from, obviously we had the midpoint check-in, but also from seeing the final pieces, actually tracks to my thought process overall and how effectively it got a little bit derailed.
I'm a little confused because you were given the opportunity to design a premium class airline, and what you've done instead is to choose an airline that's super budget, so you have to find your own brief in a way that's very limiting. I personally would have embraced this and picked an airline where I can go hog wild and do all the kinds of tricks.
I think his critique on the tags that I created was completely fair, and that was the aesthetic I was going for. That was the design direction I wanted to head down, something a bit more utilitarian, and it just didn't map overall, because I think ultimately I was pitching too hard in one direction without actually considering that I was putting myself in a corner by doing so.
Here's where you need to play around with the design a little bit, maybe scale some things down and achieve that balance, because otherwise it doesn't feel designed. And I get it. I know that's the look you're going for. It's kind of undesigned design, as if nobody designed it. But it's very hard to pull that off and make it look like you know what you're doing. So I'm not sure this was entirely successful. I applaud you for being as confident, as bold as you are with what it is that you want to do. I just think you fell a little short.
Actually, looking back on the project itself, I know at the time of doing that project, I was also doing 3 other client projects, 2 of which were the biggest that I'd ever done. So some of that stuff, since I was doing the Young Guns project on top of that, might have got a bit lost in translation, and I didn't spend as much time as I wanted to on it. And I think if I did it again, Chris's critique was completely fair, and I know exactly where I would go to update it.
Now, in the presentation, you showed us a tag that looked like it was made of paper, and then this extra ornamentation, the twine that was tied to the luggage, which throws me off because that's like really old and retro versus purely utilitarian. That's like decorative, whereas you want to be utilitarian. So this is where I think you need to be very clear at defining the visual language that you're taking from the moment you say go.
Those insights, particularly when talking about single color or single typeface, can be really useful for me moving forward to think smaller and not put myself in a corner all the time.
So overall, I'm super happy with Chris's critique. He just had a lot of great things to say, about me and the work. And so, of course, that feels great.
The original design was created by Massimo Vignelli, legendary designer, and then later on redesigned. So you've got some big shoes to fill. What are you gonna do with this? And now I see what you've done, and I think it's brilliant. I'm going through this and I'm just blown away at how good you are. Forget about your age, forget about what school, or if you even went to school, how good you are, man. There's some really raw, deep, talented person inside of you that's waiting to scream and break free of whatever it is that you're doing. I encourage you to continue down this path.
I had a lot of fun working on the project, and so I'm just glad that Chris is impressed with the work, and hopefully everybody else is too. The critique was super fair. I mean, Chris made a lot of good points. I agree with pretty much everything he had to say, and so it's just really making me excited to work on the project some more and flesh it out to put in my portfolio. So to get specific, the first thing I wanted to bring up was the envelope and the greeting card that I designed. Chris said that he thought this was the weakest part of the system, and that it was kind of a missed opportunity. And after hearing his explanation, I definitely agree.
My least favorite part of your identity is the personalized envelope. I think we're missing a lot of opportunities to do something really cool and interesting, fun and different, because this literally is something that's handed out to passengers in the ACE Club.
I think adding some aspect of interactivity to kind of improve the user experience is definitely a good idea. Other than that, he had a few pointers about like tightening up my leading and like using the same point sizes, less point sizes, all stuff I can get behind.
The leading, as you guys know, is a spacing between lines, and I think this just needs to be a little tighter, because what's happening right now is I'm starting to feel the air that's going through, and I start to read the negative space between the lines. So I like the contrast between the bold Frutiger and the regular or light Frutiger. I just want the body part, the 8-ounce New York strip, to be tighter together, okay?
And you also mentioned something about like those diagonal sort of translucent shapes that I used in my presentation deck.
But I saw little strips of transparency in your deck somewhere. I would have liked to see some of that. So that could be done with a spot varnish, so it's not too over the top. So you have a little bit of a dull and shiny finish, and I like that. Okay.
And I actually did use those in some of the applications I designed. I think the big wallpaper has it, and business cards. But I want to incorporate that into some other, like pretty much all the applications. I think that element combined with the other pattern that I put together really just makes the whole system look more sophisticated without being over the top. But Chris's idea was to incorporate that into the menu by way of a spot varnish or something like that. And I think using different finishes like that is a great idea, not something I really thought about during the project. But yeah, definitely going to do that for sure. And then lastly, I wanted to touch on what Chris had to say about the logo I designed. He wanted me to explore having the two shapes kind of aligned at the bottom.
And I saw that in your design process in drawing the mark for American Airlines ACE Club, that there was a moment in there where you designed the mark and the blue strip was down here. And I thought that looked better to me because it felt like an abstracted A, where this offset just feels like two elements versus an A. And it's a very minor thing, but I think if you looked at it, look at that again and see if it improves. And if you like it better, do that instead for your portfolio.
I did explore in the beginning, and I just kind of, to me, in that configuration, the logo just kind of looks like the Adidas mark without the extra stripe, right? That's all I have to say. Like I said, super happy with the critique. I'm glad Chris liked the work.
The video where Chris gives feedback, like, he seemed like he was very happy with what I did.
Ooh, all right, Sharif. You've done a really good job. I like how far you've gone with this and just the thoroughness of your thinking and your design exploration. I can tell you're a little bit more of a seasoned designer than some of our young guns. I think it was really smart how you color corrected this photo to make it look like a Swiss passport. It really completes the image, and this is a great shot. So a lot of times just choosing the right photograph to use is everything.
I'm very anxious because I feel I did really well and I really want to win.
I love this part. So you really have pulled out all the stops going into the uniform itself and kind of indicating certain things. I'm not sure if this is a mock-up or whatever, but it looks really good. And it shows that you're thinking through the entire design. Even from the stitching of the cuff itself, I like that. There's a little bit of a white embroidered thing on the sleeve. And I like all these little touches.
What's making me even more anxious is the video is just 20 seconds long, the announcement. So, you know, there won't be any hesitation. Let's see.
So now let's see who the winner is.
I'm about to react to the winner announcement of the airline challenge.
It's loading, it's buffering. Give me a sec.
I'm gonna play the clip and
My heart is racing right now.
I'm really anxious because everyone did so well, so I don't know.
So without further ado, after tallying up the scores, much deliberation, came down to the wire. But here's who won the airline design challenge. Congratulations, Sean Campbell, Young Gun.
I knew it.
Good job, man. For all the reasons I said in the episode, you did a great job. You have a bright future in design for you. You should feel really proud. Let your dad and your mom know, and your grandpa. Okay, congratulations.
I definitely feel super proud. I'm definitely gonna let my parents know. Definitely gonna tell my brother. Don't worry about that.
The moment I saw his work, and I was like, holy shit, man, Sean is gonna win another one of it.
Good for you, Sean, honestly.
I mean, it was so clean.
I really loved his project. Probably the most out of everyone's.
The moment I saw his work, I was like, he's gonna win another one. Sharif was pretty close.
I wish I had won, definitely. I am a little upset, or not upset, just a little disappointed.
There is no way anyone else is gonna win this.
Well deserved, Sean, definitely well deserved.
I appreciate all the kind words, Chris. I just feel amazing right now. I don't know, I'm at a loss for words.
I really liked seeing everybody's reaction and just how much they were, I guess, leaning into the announcement of who the winner was. And I really appreciate ARUN's reaction in that he said he knew it. He had a lot of admiration and respect. He dropped a lot of F-bombs, I think. His reaction was really genuine. Sean being the winner, I think for him, the validation that he didn't go to school and he can do this, I think it must be incredible for a young person like that. Sharif's reaction, I read in multiple ways. Like at first I think he was happy for him, but then I think he let his true emotions come out, which is I think he was hurt a little bit, or he was kind of just down. He probably felt like he had a good shot of winning it, which he did, by the way. It just came down to a few small things that put Sean over the edge. That's all. Hang in there, guys. Nothing to be ashamed of. You can hang or hold your head high. You all did great work. Okay, so if you watched the previous episodes and you made a prediction as to who you thought was gonna win, and now you know who won, how do you feel about the person that I picked? Do you think somebody else should have won? Do you wanna make a different case for it? How did you think of their reactions? Would you have reacted differently or the same way? Who took it the best and who took it the worst? Let me know in the comments below. And I will see you on the season finale in the very next episode. We're gonna take a look back at how this whole journey began and see the arc that these young designers took during this entire process. That's it. See you guys next time.
I knew it, Sean is gonna win.